Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Aethix Fitness, and you're listening to the Aethix Approach podcast, where we cover all things vegan, fitness, and nutrition related, and chat with inspiring and influential vegans who are out there leading by example. If you haven't already, it would really help if you subscribed to, liked, commented, and or shared any of the content I'm producing, including this podcast, free articles and training programs on aethixfitness.com, videos on YouTube, and more. I truly appreciate all you guys for the love and support. In this episode, I speak with Mateo Way, a vegan powerlifter and bodybuilder, about what led him to lifting and veganism, differences between bodybuilding and powerlifting training, effective diet and nutrition strategies, individual genetic differences, vegan stereotypes, and much, much more. Matteo is a burly-ass dude with a 529-pound squat, 365-pound bench, and 627-pound deadlift at a body weight of 228 pounds. He's been vegan for 15 years in just a couple months and for the entirety of his lifting career, so virtually all of his strength was built on a plant-based diet. Matteo drops tons of knowledge bombs in this episode, and I think it's incredibly useful information even for a seasoned lifter. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed our chat. All right, Matteo, thanks so much for coming on today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, sorry about those technical difficulties, but hopefully we're good to go.
Yeah, no, I think we'll be fine. Seems so much clearer, so we're good.
Yeah, I see you're in your gym right there.
Yeah, so I'm a jeweler and I work from home. So in my basement, I have like my whole like lapidary setup, and then on the other side of the basement is pretty much the entire like home gym. Mm-hmm. So it's works out really well, especially nowadays.
Damn, that you got the coolest home gym too.
Think you, man. Thank you.
I mentioned. I'm so jealous of it.
I think I mentioned before is like I used to live in California, and I always wanted to have a home gym there, but it was just like, you live in New York, right?
New York, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you understand how it is, how expensive it is. So like, never had a garage, definitely didn't have a basement. So I got here, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, I want to build a home gym. And she's like, just do whatever the fuck you want. I was like, yes. So I just slowly started getting stuff. Like first it was plates and bars, and then I got my rack right before COVID hit. And
you got lucky
then
with that.
then all of the equipment just disappeared.
Yeah.
But it's like, just being on wait lists and things like that, waiting to snag stuff when it's like available is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's worth it if you got the space,
Where did you get your equipment from, most of it?
Kind of all over. So my rack is from a local like gym supply warehouse.
Oh, nice.
In Portland. It's like a knockoff of a Rogue like M3 rack. Mm-hmm. It's just it's like a shorty, so it actually fits in the basement. Because that was the biggest issue is all the racks, like for the most part, they're just too tall. Mm-hmm. So I found one of those. The guy had like 20 at the time, so It was pretty good deal. Some other stuff I got off like eBay, Amazon, like deadlift platform, and with curl / like quad extension is from like Titan.
Okay.
So so some off-brand stuff, but like I don't know. I needed to find stuff that's like kind of compact and not too shitty. So like I don't. You seem like you're a pretty tall guy. So how tall are you?
Like pretty much 6 feet on the dot.
Yeah. So I'm like 6, almost 6'1". So like I got a leg press machine. Uh-huh. And then like I have to like kind of rig it so that it like gives a better range of motion. If not, I'd be like quarter squatting, like quarter and everything. So it fits in the gym though, so that's like the biggest thing. But,
yeah, I guess you can't really do overhead pressing or anything, right?
Unless I want to do it for my knees or seated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Z press and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've got like a kind of a weird jacked up shoulder from past stuff, and so like I do overhead press a little bit more now than I did before. Like when I was predominantly doing powerlifting stuff, I wouldn't really overhead press much. Maybe during like off season, but for the most part, it's just like horizontal pressing. But
yeah, I'd love to get into that too. Like kind of like your lifting history and kind of like what got you into fitness in the first place.
So as a child, from the time I was 10 or 11 until about 17. I raced BMX pretty competitively. Mm-hmm. Jacked myself up pretty good. Like 6 or 7 concussions.
Oh, wow.
Broke my femur, broke my nose a bunch of times, wrist, foot, like, got to the point where like when I broke my femur, didn't know it was broken for like 6 months.
Oh shit.
Had like a spiral fracture in my, like, that medial, I can't remember the name of the anatomy, but pretty much the inner part of my femur, like within the capsule.
Okay.
I was running cross country and I couldn't figure out like when my knee would just like balloon up after every single race, and got it drained a bunch of times. X-rays didn't show anything. It started shifting, so like my knee would kind of lock. And I was like, something's wrong. So finally got an MRI and they're like, oh, it's broken. And I was like, fucking cool.
Wow.
Had a surgery. They're like, you're young. We're going to use these like, I forgot what they're called. It's pretty much, it grafts itself to the bone. So there are screws you never have to remove. Mm-hmm. The surgeon was like, oh man, we don't need to do any PT. It's totally fine. You know, you cycle, you're super active. Just stay off of it for like, you know, maybe 2 or 3 months. So I do that, go right back into like cross country, into BMX, broke all the screws within the first 6 months. So now I have like screw parts and stuff shifting around there.
It's still
another surgery. The titanium ones are now. But it shredded like my medial meniscus. So they went in and removed all of that or whatever was damaged.
Wow. And
from that point, you know, I actually got PT because they're like, you can't control yourself. So we're going to like dial you back, you know, put a little limiter on it. And my PT was just like super adamant. They're like, you're never going to lift. Like, you're not going to squat. You're not going to do any high impact. So like no running, no like, I don't know, field sports, stuff like that. So I was like, boom, I like riding my bike. Maybe I'll just transfer into like doing like road cycling. So pretty much from like 19 to about 28 or 29, I was just long distance cycling. So I didn't really do like any racing or anything like that, but a lot of like bike touring. So like bike camping. So I've like done the whole West Coast from like Seattle to San Diego a bunch of times. In Miami to Philly, solo. Really fun. If you're okay being alone for that long. It's like challenging in its own way, but
sounds really hard.
It's just hard up here, you know.
Hard
it's just
mentally?
It's harder mentally than anything, because you kind of get used to it for the most part, but lets you see a lot of stuff you wouldn't see if you were like road tripping, so that's cool. But from there, I was living in Santa Cruz in California, and I had a friend who's like, you like to do all this like endurance stuff, like you should start doing these like rucks with me. So I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it. It's kind of more popular now, but Go Ruck. Yeah,
I just heard about it actually about a week ago, which is funny.
Okay. Yeah. So in like 2014, maybe like 2013 or so, I started doing this like ruck training with him, and with Go Ruck, it's all led by ex-special forces, like military. So you have like Green Berets, Marines, SEALs, but it's all different cadres from that, and they have different length challenges. So there's like a 6 to 8 hour one, there's like a 12 to 14 hour, a 24 hour, and then a 48 hour event. And it's all really based on just like team building. So like normally there's, you have your cadre or two, and they're going to kind of run you through like military scenarios, things like that. But everything's done with like a rucksack. So you have like, depending on your size, not necessarily your gender, it's anywhere between like 10 to 30 pounds. So you got 10 to 30 pounds on you. You're moving like sandbags. You're moving anything, man. Like we've had it where we like put people in a raft and carry people in a raft, like bags full of sand, like just random, really shitty objects. But it's pretty much just getting like from point A to point B. With like time restraints. There's like, you have to do like IED spotting. So like, you're like, oh, every time you see like a fire hydrant, you have to like disarm it by doing push-ups. Something silly like that, but like it's long. So, you're doing anywhere between 10 to 30 miles worth of rucking within that time frame. And I liked it. The training was like kind of arduous, and it's again one of those things where it was more about being like mentally strong than it was being physically strong. But being physically strong helps, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes you'd have to carry other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I, at the time, was probably at my biggest, like maybe 145, 150 pounds.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was like pretty small guy for being 6 foot.
This is like 2015-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was fast as shit and had like a lot of endurance, but I just felt like I couldn't help as much as I really wanted to. So like you're carrying big ass logs. I'm a tall guy, so it's like if I get under there and I'm not strong enough to hold it, I'm offsetting it for everyone else. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, I need to like put on some weight and get stronger.
You were like, how tall you say you were?
6 foot.
So wow, 6 feet and 145 pounds. Damn.
Dude, again, all I did was like, I ate maybe like twice a day, and all I did was ride my bike. So it was like just all cardio, like not really any weight training until I started doing that type of stuff. And even then it was like mostly carrying sandbags, you know? So still like cardio, but like weighted.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I did an event and I was like, it went really well. I finished and everything, but I was like kind of bummed that I wasn't able to help more. Mm-hmm. So I like made it a point to like, all right, I'm going to start adding in like weight training at least for like legs. Twice a week.
Okay.
So that was like kind of the first thing that really got me into the gym, like squatting, deadlifting, if you want to call it that, because it wasn't. It was just like back extensions at the point.
I can relate.
Yeah. So I really liked it. I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, maybe like, so that was in 2013. So by 2015, I moved out of town. And my girlfriend at the time was going to CrossFit. And I was like, cool. I mean, it's a different style of training. I'll give it a shot. At least I'll have like a coach to watch me, you know?
Right.
So at that point, that's when I started I did CrossFit for maybe about a year or so. And it was great. I learned how to squat a little bit better, learned how to deadlift a little bit better. Again, still a lot of cardio. So I think by that point, I had started, kind of crept up to like maybe like 165, 170. Or so. And after a year and a half or so, I'd say, I don't want to say like I topped out, because CrossFit, I mean, you see the people that, I mean, granted they're pro athletes at this point, but I was like, man, I'm just not getting any better. I feel like I need to get stronger. So I kind of stepped away from it a little bit and started doing, like, first it started with like a power building like thing I found on like, I can't even remember if it was T-Nation or bodybuilding.com, but it was like a 12-week program. Yeah. And I ran that like 3 times, and like I probably added 60 to 80 pounds to my squat, almost 100 pounds to my deadlift. My bench was like, it was real bad. I think, yeah. So it was like, my bench didn't go up all that much, but like I had never been doing any sort of pressing. You know, the most maybe was like doing like sandbag presses.
What'd you start with on bench?
On bench, when I stopped CrossFit, I think my 1 rep max, it was not horrible, but it was like 190.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like 170, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like, it was not a pretty rep by any means, but it was like, it was relatively good. But, you know, just not really having much instruction. I mean, in CrossFit, even especially at our box, there was no one really like teaching you how to bench press. Something we did like once every 3 months, maybe. So,
okay.
But yeah, I did that 12-week program like 3 times, and I was like, this is like pretty fucking awesome. Like, I really like squatting because I sucked at it, and I was like, I need to get better. I liked deadlifting, and bench was like, kind of hated it, but it was like the big 3, so I had to do it. And then I don't know what it was, you know, just being on Instagram and seeing different things if you're like tagging workouts. I ended up seeing a bunch of stuff from like Steffi Cohen and the people from like Hybrid. And I think that was the first program that I ran, was like their app, like powerlifting program.
Whose
app? It was pretty good. What's that?
Which app was it?
Hybrid Performance Method.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Steffi Cohen. I don't think she's a world record holder now, but I think in the 123s, she was like deadlifting like over 500 pounds. Like,
yeah, she's fucking
monster. Yeah. But yeah, and from there, like, I did the hybrid program probably for like maybe a year or so. Did some stuff from Juggernaut. Got injured. And then I found the guys from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Prescript, like Jordan Shallow, Jordan Junta.
I don't think so.
They're awesome. If you're looking for like kind of prehab type stuff and biomechanics, they're just gigantic wealth of information. So I'll send over you the information with them.
Yeah, I'm actually going to write that down right now. What was it again?
So Jordan Shallow.
Jordan Shallow, okay.
And Jordan Junta. It's G-U-A-N-T.
A-N-T. Okay.
I'll have to double check that. But Prescript is their company. If you're a trainer, they have a trainer training system that's pretty amazing. I haven't taken it personally, but I have a bunch of friends that are coaches that have taken it and spoke highly of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I worked with them a little bit just through their programming, got better. And then in 2019, I think, was the first time I hired like an actual coach and was like, all right, well, I've been doing powerlifting stuff for the better part of like 3 years. I should probably like compete.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I want to have someone that like can help me peak and all this stuff. Like pretty much any program I did, it was just like different blocks. And, you know, you'd eventually kind of like either do like a 2 rep max or maybe a 1 rep max and then start it all over again. Having a coach was like pretty amazing. I think I went from having in the gym, maybe like a 1,300 pound total to like almost a 1,400 pound total in like 9 months or so.
Okay.
So I added like 100 pounds to my total. It's great. His name is Trevor Jaffe. Again, he's an amazing coach. If you ever want like more powerlifting suggestions as far as like, I don't know what the word would be. Troubleshooting like cues and things like that. So, and then, worked with my buddy Casey Williams for about a year, and he helped me get to like my biggest total now, which is a little over 1,500. So that was like a 530 pound squat, a 365 pound bench, and then a 630 pound deadlift.
What was it?
So I didn't compete because of COVID.
Okay.
So I was supposed to be doing a meet. It was in Pennsylvania. My coach is like immune compromised. I was like, I'm not going to go out there and do that. So I did it in a gym. So it doesn't count. But I think I weighed in that morning just to kind of see. And I think I was at 228. Okay. So at my biggest, like a few weeks before that meet, I think I got up to like 235. And I was just like sleeping like shit and like felt really lethargic and like just gross. So I was like, I cut back a little bit on my carbs and fixed a little bit of my sleep and ended up dropping just a few pounds right before that meet. But not a fan of weight classes if for powerlifting, at least, unless you're trying to like chase a total. Just go in as strong as you possibly can be. So at least that's what I've kind of learned from friends and coaches and whatnot.
Yeah, that's crazy though. You went from 145 technically, like when you first started getting into any sort of lifting, right, to 220. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah, dude, fucking so much food.
That's crazy.
So much food.
What was your calorie intake like over the years?
At the highest, I think, and you know, there was definitely times where like I got a little bit fat. I think the first time I broke into 200s was in like 2017 or 2018, around there. And I was just chunky. Like I saw some photos from vacation and I was like, I'm strong, but I'm a little bit fat. So I just kind of started implementing these little like mini cuts. Like the guys at RB Strength, they're really big fans of those. And so I'd do like a 4 or 6 week cut, drop, you know, like maybe like 10% body fat and then shoot back up. But yeah, I think the most I had, what was it, like 4,400 at one time. A lot of the times I was just doing kind of like just using MyFitnessPal just to kind of like track it. So there's definitely times where I know I was getting like so much more fats than I needed.
Yeah.
Than I needed, like, as far as like, you know, carb cycling, things like that. I just didn't know anything. So I was just like, eat.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what everyone said. They're like, just make sure you get protein
Mm-hmm.
and then just eat as much as you can. And so I did that, and it worked kind of, but yeah.
Dude, the difference, I'm just like thinking about myself compared to you. I'm 6 feet tall also, and I started at probably about like 150 also, but I have a small fucking frame. Like I'm about like 185. Not the most I've ever gotten to is like 205, eating over 4,000 calories a day. And I felt like how you felt at like 35 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
It's crazy what personal differences, you know?
Totally. And I know that like I have a relatively fast metabolism, or at least I kind of thought I did. At times I didn't feel like I'd ever hit 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. And then it's like I hit 200 pounds and I was like, what is 220? You know? And then it was just like that slow road of just constantly being, I would say like throughout the year, I pretty much was just like progressively in a surplus, with the exception of like maybe 3 mini cuts a year. And sometimes those were like unintentional, like depression mini cuts where I just like didn't have an appetite or I was like slightly injured or something. But I feel like it's really important for pretty much anyone is just to constantly be in that like surplus, you know, maybe not an excessive one, but 100, 200, 250 or so. I think people are just kind of scared of getting fat, where it's just like,
for sure,
it's hard. Like I know that like I've kind of changed my focus from powerlifting to more bodybuilding stuff, and like as my body fat percentage has been rising, I'm like, oh man, like I used to be more vascular. Like it kind of fucks with your head a little bit, but
for sure,
you got to put that mass on if you want to actually add mass, you know. Constantly being like in a deficit or in such a small surplus that you're probably not even in a surplus, I think is I don't know, we kind of lie to ourselves sometimes, so
So what do you think, would you ever cut back down to like I mean, have you ever been in like the single digit or anything, or are you interested in doing that?
A little bit more now than I was like a year ago,
because you're more into powerlifting then.
Yeah, so I've been dealing with this like weird glute issue for like probably 5 months now. I don't know how it really arose, but something with my piriformis where like pretty much anytime I get into that lengthened position of a deadlift, so like pretty much pulling off the ground, it almost like an electric-y kind of shock or so, but like my like glute kind of fires, and then I lose pretty much all the strength and drive out of my right leg. So it's this weird like, so like my left leg will lock out, and then my other one's like whoop, and will like kind of follow suit. And now it's like led into issues with like my squat, and I'm like, it's a bummer, but it's just like you're always going to be speed bumps along the way, you know?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm working with Steve at Revive Stronger, and maybe we'll see. We're in a mass right now, but I've never been, other than when I was like really, really skinny. I've never been sub 10 that I know of, you know? My buddy used to joke that just like, if you have abs and you're under 200 pounds, it doesn't count. And I was like, well, fuck you.
That's me.
Right? I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, I'd like to. It's kind of weird, one of those things where like, you know, during the summer I was, like I said, like 230, 235. And then I did this cut, and a little bit longer than like, we'll call it a mini cut, but it got down to like 206, and I could probably get down to like 180 or so before I started getting like stupid lean.
Right.
So I know I carry like a lot of like visceral fat, you know, but maybe we'll see as things progress, figure out this whole injury thing. I don't want to go into a big deficit while I'm injured. So yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, what's it like working with the Revive Stronger team?
So I just finished week 3. It's really good. It's super, there's lots of metrics for the most part, more metrics than I've ever kept track of, like as far as like weight, macros. I'm not doing any like heart rate variability or heart rate. Did I say that
Yeah.
right?
That's
Yeah, HRP.
fatigue measurement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing any of that, but like I'm like logging my steps.
Right.
More stuff again than a power lifter probably does. And working in more so, not working for maximal strength, so working more so within that like reps in reserve. It's a little bit harder for me to kind of wrap my head around. But as the weeks have been progressing, like some input with Steve, I think it's good. I really like it so far. All of the like their movement library is really good as far as like instructing how they want you to execute. I just never really knew as far as doing like accessory stuff that like the angle of, you know, the muscle you're trying to work is like the way you pull is going to be super important as far as like, you know, isolating that movement. So like changing how I do like curls and how I do like tricep extensions, and sort of like lateral raises, things like that. Even squatting, like I've always been a like relatively deep squatter. That's never been like a mobility issue for me, but getting like fucking ass to grass, like down there.
Like the RP guys, like the full range of motion team.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. Dr. Mike is someone like, that's how I found Steve, is from following Dr. Mike's stuff. That was back in 2016 or so. But I was like, they're fucking huge. They're big. Like they obviously know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's changed a little bit, and just slowing things down, you know, like we're working on the concentric and eccentric as well. But for the most part, you know, after 3 or 4 weeks, it's been good. My weight's been slowly climbing back up. Other than dealing with the injury, I feel stronger. Having more of a focus the past 8 weeks on like hypertrophy work and not necessarily like just working on strength. I've actually feel like I've been growing, which is like, you'd think if you've been lifting like 4 or 5 days a week for 4 or 5 years straight, that like, I don't know, not that you'd top out, but like you'd be like, cool, like I know, like I'm not going to see a huge change, but within like 8 weeks, you know, changing the way that, you know, the range of motion, how I'm executing things has definitely seen the improvement. So I'm stoked on that. But
that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask if you noticed a difference between like that style of training versus powerlifting, you know, and you kind of already answered it.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Yeah, the hardest part is just not having like a number. So that was always my thing, where like RPE was kind of hard for me to work with when I had my first coach. My other coach did more percentage-based stuff where, you know, you say a number and I'm going to hit that number for the day, opposed to this where it's just like work up to 3 to 4 RIR. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, because I know that like the way that my body is and the way that like mentally, like I'll grind through some stuff, but I don't want to grind through it in like a shitty range of motion or just completely lose form, things like that. So it's different, but it's like, it's definitely showing improvements, aesthetically, I guess you could say. It's not the most weight I've lifted, which is like a kind of a mind fuck. But it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah, I can definitely relate in the sense that I feel like my numbers are not impressive in the least bit, but I feel like I'm still tied to mentally to how much I'm lifting and not so much like how it feels or, you know, like the things that you're probably focusing on more right now. So I totally get that.
Totally. Like I've never squatted trying to be like mentally in touch with like my quads.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like feeling that full like lengthening, almost like kind of tearing sensation in the bottom of your squat.
Yeah.
It was never that. It was more so just like bracing, you know, stacking my torso, keeping my chest high, and that's it. You know, like rooting
and then just moving the weight basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be really interested in like pursuing that kind of thing eventually, but I just cannot break that mental, you know, that thing with just lifting the number.
Yeah. No, it's hard. I think it's just trying to like align your goals with the work you're putting in, which I feel like most people, like I'm not the type of person that breaks away from the program. Like my coach does something, I'm going to do all the accessories, I'm going to do the work, because like you do the work, you get results. I'm sure you've seen it too, where you go to a gym, you see the same people there all the time doing the same shit, and they never really progress. And they're just like, why don't you like either change things or like progressive overload, you know, like slowly start building up.
Yep.
Because doing the same shit over and over doesn't really kind of bode well for any sort of progress.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think overall, like, it'll take some time to like refocus and not be so concerned about like the weight that's on the bar. When you start seeing results, then you're like, that's where the fucking money is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit of a mind shift there. So in terms of like, I want to talk about your diet and stuff and how you got into veganism and everything. And I guess just to start us off, when did you kind of find your way towards eating plant-based?
So I've never really liked red meat. My mom's Catholic, so during Lent, you usually don't eat red meat. It would be like fish, something like that. So that was always like my favorite time of the year because my parents wouldn't harass me about like eating, I don't know, tri-tip or something fucking like that. And then, you know, usually give something up, right? So I used that to my advantage and was like, well, I'm not going to eat red meat or chicken anymore. So I think I was like maybe 14 or 15 at that time, like right before high school started. And I think that was kind of the first, I don't know if I would consider myself like a pescatarian at that point, because I would still eat sushi, no other fish really. But yeah, and I still drank milk and things like that. And then I was kind of like that pescatarian, I guess you can say, until I was about 20. And then I moved away from home. I started meeting more friends. Had a few friends that were vegan or vegetarian. And just from hanging out with them, it was this really slow transition of just like, you know, we all cooked together. They like introduced me to cooking, which is, if you're not into that and you're vegan, it's going to be real fucking hard. So, you know, like getting books and things like that and kind of just like learning how to cook was really, it was eye-opening. And then just being around them and like understanding a little bit more of the ideology behind veganism, it kind of just was a slow transition where it was like, you know, a month or so and I was like, damn, I haven't eaten like any animal products. And I'm like, I feel great. I'm still riding. I'm putting like at least 100 miles a week, if not more. There's no change in like my output, my energy. And yeah, I kind of was just like, well, I guess I'm vegan now. Like, because I have always loved animals and the thought of, you know, especially knowing more about like the meat industry, especially in America, I was like, man, this shit's fucked, you know, like it was more of like a moral choice than it was ever like a choice about health. Because at the time I was like drinking way too much. And like when I did eat, it was vegan, but like, yeah, my health was not my concern at that time in my life. So, and even now it's just like, I know that there's other routes, that it's easier to not be vegan when pursuing like athletics and things like that. More so now than like 15 years ago. But yeah, I feel like it became more of an ethics thing than it was really a performance-based thing. Yeah, I don't have like, I never did as much activity and things like that as a non-vegan. So it's really hard for me to kind of give like a point of reference as far as like, well, like my you know, my power output increased or like my endurance increased or anything like that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, man, like just do the work. I feel like if you're going to find a cop out or a reason why you aren't progressing, it could be your diet. It could be anything. People always find excuses for why they aren't doing the shit that they need to do to progress. Granted, I understand people have like dietary issues and things like that, but I never want to use that as a crutch, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I feel like a lot of people are quick to blame their diet for something that is totally unrelated. Yeah.
Because to me, it's like, okay, well, if it's really your diet, like, are you hydrated? Are you sleeping 8 to 9 hours a night? What's your stress level like? Like, you know, all of those factors are going to play such a bigger significant role in like you progressing than like what you're putting in your body. Granted, your food it's super important, but if you don't have the other metrics in check, then like maybe address those things and then see if it is your diet, you know? Because there's people that have been like, you know, that are carnivore that eat all this fucking meat, and then they still suck at programming, they suck at sleeping, they drink on the weekends, they don't drink any water, and they don't make any progress.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where it could be on either end of that spectrum. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I got off on a tangent there.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, it's I totally agree. It's like, it's not about just, people blame their lack of results in their diet too much, and it's not so much what they are or aren't eating. It's, there's a bigger picture there. So that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. But just to kind of tie us back in a little bit, so you were vegan when you were cycling at 145 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So were you ever like criticized for being like the skinny vegan dude?
Oh, of course. And I also like, excuse me. So I was vegan. I had locks that were like pretty much down to my knees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like the stereotypical vegan, but it was like, I was quick on a bike, and like I had a tank that just wouldn't quit. So it's like, you can kind of talk shit on it, but at the end of the day, like, get on the bike and let's go, So it's like, I feel like the actions spoke louder than, I don't know, the food I was fucking putting in my mouth. So
yeah. So when you kind of started getting into lifting and stuff, I guess you were kind of surrounded around more kind of like, I guess, stereotypical, meatheads who kind of ate like a lot of meat, obviously, and everything. And they weren't really used to veganism or anything, but you were come in, and after a couple of years, you're pulling pretty big numbers and stuff. Did you ever get any reactions from that?
I never bring it up.
Okay.
So I just never really talk about it. I don't want to be like a preachy vegan. Because I know that it's a personal choice, and like what other people put in their mouth doesn't make me shit, so I don't really talk about it. If I wear a shirt or something, that's always the funniest reaction, where it's just like, hold on, you're vegan? And I'd be like, yeah. They're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah. They're like when? And I was like, oh, like, it's been like 12 years.
Yeah.
They're like, what? So like, it definitely gets a reaction. I've had, like, the first coach I had was just like, the dude doesn't eat fucking vegetables.
Oh, damn.
I don't understand. Like, he just eats multivitamins, and like his girlfriend has to like grind his vegetables up and just fucking pasta sauce. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand it. He's strong as shit. So it's like, a 198er that pulls 800 pounds. Like, that's fucking insane.
There's an example where like you don't necessarily have to have a diet that's optimal for health necessarily. I mean, you can get strong on a diet as long as you're hitting your macronutrients and calories,
Exactly. Yeah. And so he was just like, if there's performance drop off, then like, maybe we should address that. Yeah. But there wasn't, it's like, I feel like I've gone that long eating the way I do that if I saw some sort of detriment, it would have kind of showcased itself in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm lucky enough that like at that CrossFit gym that I went to, my girlfriend at the time was vegan. Two of the other coaches that were coaching there were both vegan. So it was one of the things where like all the strongest, fastest people that are in this box are vegan. Like, you can talk shit, but at the end of the day, like, I'm still going to like crush your time or crush the weight that you're lifting. And so it was funny and like a very unique experience. So not having to deal with like, I don't know, going to like a Globo gym and dealing with like meathead bros. I feel like the community that I started lifting in was very, very like welcoming and not really like, I don't know, just didn't talk shit or try and like pick on you.
Yeah.
So
that's a good example. Like you said, with the CrossFit gym, the strongest, fittest people were vegans, and vegans are like what, fucking 3% of the population or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It goes to show that at least it's not a diet that's necessarily detracting from your performance. I mean, you could argue one way or the other. You could argue the semantics, but I don't think that it's subtracting from performance, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely like unique cases where, if you wanted to like step on the stage at the Arnold or the Mr. Olympia, that might be hard. Like getting like that many, metrics dialed in as far as like your macros, things like that. I've never seen someone that's like naturally built themselves up getting that big, even if they're like an enhanced athlete, but vegan, I don't know. I've never seen it. I'm sure it's possible.
That's
But
another
yeah, I
great
feel like,
point. That's another
yeah,
great point because vegans a lot of times are more kind of health conscious, I guess I should say.
yeah,
And even if they're not vegan for health purposes, a lot of us try to be like, eat a lot of vegetables and try to eat a little bit better. But, a lot of them don't take a ton of gear or anything. And obviously to get on the step on the Olympia stage, you got to be doing everything you can.
yeah. And also have amazing genetics and,
Exactly.
a
Exactly.
decade worth of training under your belt. So who knows? Maybe someday we'll see it.
Maybe.
Yeah, but
There's that one dude, I don't know if you follow him at all, Evan Cardone. Do you know him?
hold on. Is he the dude like the kind of like the deadlift kid?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I try not to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just he's an interesting person.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. The dude openly talks about how much gear he uses and stuff, and you can say what you want about him, but he's still strong as shit. He's like deadlifting like 855 or something. That's
Yeah, something insane. Where it's just like you can't, the kid has a strong back.
yeah, yeah.
So, you could say it's the gear, but like some people are just built to deadlift and some people just can grind this shit out.
Yeah.
And like for someone that maxes out that often, like, like I think Ed Cohen said it, there's only a number of 1 rep maxes in your lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how true that is, but at the end of the day, like, you can only like rev that engine so hard before you throw a rod,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he's fucking strong. I'll give him that.
He's vegan too.
Yeah, which I don't know how long he's been vegan, but it seems like it's been a decent amount of time.
I think it's been like I don't follow him super closely, but I think it's been at least over 5 years or something.
Nice. So yeah, if you were gonna see like some sort of detriment to his progress and stuff, I feel like it would have shown itself.
Yeah.
At some point.
The reason I brought him up is because he's just one of the examples of probably the extremely rare vegan person who's actually on a lot of gear and open about it, and strong as shit too. So I think that's pretty cool seeing it all come together just to show that it is possible for regardless of diet. I mean, you have to have genetics, obviously. Not everyone can just do that, but yeah. Let's see. So I guess to get a little bit back on terms of diet for you, what's your average day of eating? And you said you're kind of getting into like calorie and macronutrient counting and stuff a little more closely.
A little bit more closely. So Steve has like a caloric goal for me. Pretty much like a goal for the week, like a weekly average. But it has like my protein's like 240 to 260. I can look it up right now and that's like total protein. So, even things like oats, rice, things like that are going to add into that total. I know some people don't count those. But if you're getting like multiple sources of protein to help kind of build getting all those essential amino acids. But yeah, I think I'm like 240 to 260 for my protein. Shit. Wish I had this all memorized.
No problem.
Let's see. Yeah, my carbs are only at like 410 right now. Fiber's like 38. And then my fats, ideally no more than like 77. It's kind of hard with fats. I mean, I'm sure you've kind of dealt with it too, especially if you're cutting. Like a lot of the vegan proteins are always bound with like fats or carbs.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have an issue with like, as far as like really kind of dialing in tracking stuff, like I always overshoot my fats and like I can get everything else in, but it's like trying to rein in those fats has been a little bit difficult for me.
What's your staple source there for like a low fat, high protein source?
Oh man, I've been really liking those like Gardein crumbles.
Like the hamburger kind of crumbles.
Yeah.
Okay,
so they're super cheap. And I think like, what is it? I think it's either like 19 or 20 grams of protein per serving and only like maybe 3 to 4 grams of fat. And then I think the carbs are relatively low as well. But yeah, that and like seitan, those are kind of like the go-to. I messed around a lot with like eating those like tofurkey sausages for a long time. And they're like delicious, but they're like the fat's crazy, the sodium's super high.
Yeah.
I have an issue like pretty much once I pass like 220, if my sodium's too high, I just start getting edema and like I just carry water, like really gnarly. I'm on my feet all the time when I work, so it's like my like feet will get swollen and my leg.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, yeah. So I have an issue with like, I need to control my sodium. So those sausages used to be like a staple, but I can't do them anymore. They're too gnarly. That like, I really, as far as like a supplement, I really like the protein from like True Nutrition. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them.
I love them.
They have like tons of different flavors. They do like, you can do like a essential amino acid addition, things like that.
Yeah, I love you guys.
But yeah, I try and keep it simple. Like, I can be a robot when it comes to like eating. Like, I'll eat the same shit every single day, 3 to 4 times a day, and that doesn't really bother me. But for carbs, it's usually like oats, white rice, sweet potato, veggies, just a variety of mixed vegetables if I can, like leafy greens. And then for fats, it's either like olive oil, peanut butter. I don't really do coconut oil as much as I used to, because now I'm like, man, like everything I'm eating has fat in it. I need to like dial it back down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the biggest issue I have with like doing things, not having as much processed food, which I wish I could do a little bit better, is just, I always feel like I overshoot my fats or I overshoot my carbs or something. I'm trying to get that much protein in. It's like, it's kind of hard not to supplement with like either some of those processed like faux meats or like protein shakes. So
what's like an average day of eating look like for you lately for meals?
So usually like I get up like an hour or two before my girlfriend. I do like a shake. So like, it's like a cup and a half of oats, 2 scoops of protein, a little bit of peanut butter, throw some coffee in there, a little bit of that silk protein milk. Usually have that, and then first lunch is either like seitan or gardine with some like rice or sweet potatoes, green beans or peas. Do that pretty much the same meal again by like second lunch. And then dinner is one of those things where like, I like to cook. My girlfriend likes variety, let's say that. So dinner always varies, but it's always, I try and have most of my carbs earlier in the day, because I tend to work out in the morning. And then as the day progresses, I'll kind of like reduce the amount of carbs I have, reduce the fats a little bit. But the protein stays relatively same throughout the day. So, it's usually around like about like total protein, probably around like about 60 to 70 grams per meal. Yeah.
Working with the Revive Stronger team, do they give you any extra kind of like directions or anything for eating vegan? Do they coach your diet at all?
No. So the way that they program as far as like the dietary portion is like, they're going to give you like the macros, and it's just like, one of those, like, if it fits your macros, but like, don't be an idiot. Like, if you're missing carbs, don't eat like a shit ton of Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah.
Like, try and keep in mind that you still need like those like micronutrients, need your vitamins, things like that. So, if you start seeing like a drop off, like you're hitting your calories, but performance is dropping off, and you're not overreaching as far as like the program, then it's like, I feel like there's more of a discussion about like what you're actually eating. But it's so new that I haven't really kind of gotten to that point yet.
Okay. How long has it been, you said 3 weeks only?
So I just started, today was week 4.
Oh, week 4. Okay. Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Started week 4.
Okay, cool. So I guess if you had any advice for anybody who is kind of just like a newer, let's say a lifter starting a vegan diet or something, what would be some of your biggest tips you could offer, you think?
Tracking. That's the biggest one. Tracking your macros is, doing a little bit of research, because in the beginning, like, I had no idea what macros were, so it was going through like listening to podcasts, not necessarily like vegan specific ones. But just, the guys at RP Strength are really amazing. That's how I met Steve, is through Revive Stronger. Ben Prikalski, his stuff's amazing. But yeah, just kind of reaching out there and figuring out, what you're eating. Because I think that's the biggest misconception people have. They're like, well, I eat all the time and I just can't put on weight. And I'm like, do you track anything? And they're like, well, no.
Yeah.
So it's like, because I know if I eat just to feel full, I'll be like under my calories probably by like 1,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's because I'm on the from a young age, I was never super hungry, unless it's junk food. So it's like, I know that like, I'm not going to like consistently hit my surplus. So I would say that's the first thing. It's like, you know, download like Chronometer or like MyFitnessPal. If you want to go with something that's a little bit more like, I don't know, regimented, like the RP Strength app is pretty good, but it's not the best for vegans at the time now. I know that they're trying to work on that. But tracking your macros, making sure that like, you know, you do it for at least like a week or two, kind of see what your baseline is and be like, all right, well, if I want to gain mass, you can put that in as like your goal. And then it'll give you like a set of macros to kind of reach, and then just like mess with it, you know, like put in the things that you normally eat. And then from that point forward, just start adding in carbs or adding in proteins. It's kind of hard to track as far as like, I know they do some of the essential vitamins, things like that, but you know, because that has everything broken down for you if you kind of go through the app a little bit more. But definitely tracking. That's the biggest one if people are trying to like build muscle. Is just, you got to be in a surplus. You can't just guesstimate that shit, because you're going to be wrong, you know. Yeah. Other than that, consistency and programming. Like, have a plan. That's the biggest thing I feel like that has helped me progress. Is like, I always have a plan. Stick to my plan. It's like, I'm not gonna go off and do like some dickhead 1 rep max just because everyone's there. Like, just have some conviction and stick to what your plan is and follow through. Like, I think the biggest issue people have with like becoming vegan and trying to like incorporate it with their fitness is like, don't think of this in like, I want to see results in a month. Like, have a little bit longer. Be like, I want to see where I'm at 6 months. I want to see where I'm at a year, and like set weight goals for yourself. Because that was my thing. It's like, well, I talked to someone that, you know, years ago that was like, I want you at 275. If you want to be a good power lifter, 275 pounds, you'll walk around weight will be like 280, 290, and we'll cut you to 275 to compete. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was literally 100 pounds more than I was at. And I was like, couldn't even fucking fathom it. And I get it. Like, weight moves weight, but not all weight, you know, like you have to have muscle to move big weight. But, kind of got off tangent there. Sorry.
No, I totally agree. I was gonna say that if you're, I've always heard that weight classes are like height classes. So like if you're like 6 feet tall or taller, you have to be like 275 plus to be even somewhat competitive, you know? Yeah.
And if you're like a smaller guy, like, you know, say if you're 5'8", 5'6", like 275 is going to be different for you when you're squatting, things like that. Just like mechanics and levers are going to be significantly different depending on your height and whatnot. But yeah, definitely like setting goals and then just kind of following through. Like, even with programming as well, like I feel like people only, you know, they get 4 weeks into a program and they don't have shredded abs. Like, you have to have patience. Anyone that's trying to sell you shit online that's going to be like, we're going to transform you in 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm like, you can suck a dick, because that's not going to happen. Like, you might feel better. You might see some slight body comp changes, but like for anyone that's really, really new to lifting, like it's going to take time. And I know that like we live in a time where like everyone wants shit right away, but like it's a long, 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 long journey for the most part. Yeah. So I think that's the thing, is just like setting goals and then having like very realistic time frames. Because, you know, it's one of those things where like, you might not even really like working out. That's fine. Like, it's totally fine. So, but give it a shot, see how it works for you. And then if it's not your cup of tea, then like go find something else you're passionate about. But
yeah, that's amazing advice, man. I wouldn't change a single thing you said there. That was super helpful.
Thank you.
For anybody who's just starting out, that's like the most important thing you can do. Just be consistent, be smart about your diet, and just do the damn work.
Yeah, do the work. That's the biggest thing. And like, it's, consistency will kind of, I won't say trump everything else, but kind of, you know, like you're going to see progress, especially if you're new. Progress is going to come really, really, really quick in the very beginning. Like maybe the first like 2 or 3 years, it'll just be adding on mass, adding, you know, plates to the bar, if that's your goal. But, you know, definitely consistency, and don't let people give you shit. Like, if you want to use that as fuel to like push yourself to like prove people wrong, it's not my type of thing, but like just keep doing it. And like, if you keep showing up, you're going to progress. And then they'll be like, dude, so you gotta tell me about this vegan shit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably had that where it's just like, damn, man, you're looking fucking good. Like, what do you eat? And you're like, well, what I eat is pertinent to me. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to help you directly, but yeah, that's the thing, is like, don't let people give you shit about it. Yeah, just keep doing the fucking work.
Yeah. That's another great point you guys kind of touched on too there. It's kind of like you can almost let your own body be, or like your own body or your own strength be like the advocacy behind being vegan, you know?
Yeah.
People see how fit or strong you are, and they're like, damn, this guy's vegan too. Maybe I should look into that.
Totally. I mean, I'm sure you've had that conversation with people. Like, I've had a good number of friends that like were probably like 3 or 4 of them that are like been vegan long term now, and are doing fucking great and like really enjoy it. More so, I feel like they got into it for the health aspects of it, more than like the ethics of it. Yeah. Which is totally fine as well, you know. But yeah, I feel like just let your work do all the talking. Yeah. Because there's people in the gym that are just gonna talk regardless. You know, like whether you're like keto or fucking carnivore or like if it fits your macros, like someone's always gonna try and like persuade you to do the shit that's not working for them. Yeah.
I think I'm definitely with you with the approach of just kind of like not so much like talk. This is kind of a little bit contradictory because I have like a vegan fitness Instagram. It's like the whole focus, but yeah, in real life, I kind of just let everyone do their own thing. And like, I'm more than happy to talk about being vegan and fitness and everything in person, but it's something that I've lived for so long now. And I kind of have like that as like an online persona where in real life, I just kind of want to, not always think about that and stress out about it. It's a big,
because it's not, it's a part of your life, but it's not who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I feel like it's kind of hard because with like Instagram, just social media in general, like that's who you are. Like, it's that display that's kind of on there. So people can kind of get a misconception about it, but it is what it is. But I get what you mean. Like, I try not to bring it up unless someone wants to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, you always know if someone actually wants to talk about it or if they just want to argue.
Oh yeah. Oh, most definitely. Thankfully, it's, I don't know, like now that I'm in the home gym, that's never a thing.
Say hi.
But, yeah.
All right, cool, man. So, we're kind of getting close to an hour here. So I just want to touch on a couple more little quick things, but to kind of bring us home a little bit, do you have any long-term goals or anything you're kind of working towards right now?
Getting this glute issue under control. I don't know, like I've really enjoyed the bodybuilding style of training. I want to try and kind of see where that takes me over the next like year or so. So I told Steve I'm going to dedicate a year to it. I feel like I had a bunch of lagging body parts that like, if I can build mass focusing on this type of work, if and when I go back to powerlifting, it's only going to help me. We're talking about levers and things like that. Like, I'm a lanky guy. I got long ass arms, long ass legs. My big goal is like, I want to build my chest, build my triceps so I can bench better, build my hamstrings, build my quads so I can squat and deadlift more, So, with the whole aesthetic side of it, I feel like I'm built kind of fucking weird. So, and it could be just like my own like weird body dysmorphia stuff, creeping in on that. But like, I don't know if I'll ever like step on stage. If I did, I mean, like I'd be in the masters division anyways, because I'm already like 36. So like, maybe in 5 years, I don't know. That would be cool to get on stage and be like, 5% sub 5.
Would you be into that?
Yeah, I like the idea of it. The only thing is like, I like powerlifting because it doesn't negatively affect my family life. So if I get to the point where like I'm like my diet is so regimented that like I can't enjoy time and like meals and things with my wife, that doesn't play into my life, if she's into it and she's like, cool, like let's do this, then maybe. But definitely one of those things where like I can diet relatively hard if I can be like, all right, well there's like a light at the end of the tunnel, you know? But if it's one of those things where like just constantly going like small massing and then big cuts to do like competitions, I don't know. I might do it once, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how things go. But powerlifting wise, like the goal before the whole injury thing was like to hit like a 1,800 pound total before I turned 40, which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it would be adding like close to 300 pounds to my total right now. And I feel like even when I did max out last time, there was still some in the tank. So I don't know. It's definitely still like on the list of things I want to do, but just gotta get healthy first. So yeah.
Would you bulk up more to hit that goal?
Probably. Yeah. I'd probably like, if I can get to like a relatively lean 220, I'd probably push my weight up so I'd compete in like the 242s. So like the 110 kilo class or so. I feel like I'd just be at my strongest around that. I'd be at my strongest and not have a real detriment to my health, you know? Right. So that's the main goal, is like over this next year, maybe longer, is just to like build myself up, like build mass, like healthy, like lean mass. And then, you know, maybe get a little bit fluffy if I'm going to compete for powerlifting. Yeah. So.
It seems like you have some room to grow still. Like you're not, like you're still pretty thin. Like you're not like high body fat or anything.
No, I definitely kind of learned my lesson with that, where I think it's a trap that some people fall into with powerlifting, is getting this idea that weight moves weight. So like, you know, that's kind of like the premise that I got, where I was like, all right, so I'm just going to eat and just eat and just eat. And like after a certain, you know, body fat percentage, you might be putting on lean mass, but for the most part, you're just storing adipose. Yeah. So
definitely good point.
I feel like that's something that people don't really understand, is like, you're just going to get overly fat, and then, you know, your recovery is going to go to shit. Like you're going to sleep bad. Like I get like sleep apnea when I'm over like 230. So, you know, things like that, where it's just like, you can always get so big without it kind of just like wrecking the rest of your programming. So we'll see. I want to try and keep it like lean. That's what I mean. Like 5 years is going to be like a lot of building and shaping throughout that process.
Yeah. Well, that'd be really cool to see, man, if you pursue it.
Thank you. I'll try. I mean, I got shit else to do.
I'll be following along, dude. I'm rooting for you.
Nice. How about you? Are you like, do you have any aspirations to compete in like any sort of like barbell sports, or?
I did one powerlifting meet, only just because I was training at a powerlifting gym, and I was like, damn, I should do this. I'm really, really into the idea of powerlifting, but I'm just genetically like not a very strong dude. Like my best deadlift is like 465 at like 183 pounds. I'm just a small guy. Like
I feel like that's still, I mean, if you think about it, like it's really hard when you're in a powerlifting gym. Like that's kind of what got me to do my first meet too, is like the gym I was at, Tony Montgomery. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
No.
You should check. I'll send you a message too, and we'll kind of talk about some different like podcasts if you're interested in.
Oh yeah, man, for sure.
Like more like informational, not just always talking about powerlifting. Okay. But yeah, the dude has like a 2,000 pound total. Sean Doyle works out there. The dude has a 2,300 pound total. He's super heavy. It's fucking insane. He's huge. So like the first day I went there, another gentleman, Chris Bridgeford, who owns a gym up here, he was just like, hey, do you want to spot me? And this dude's doing close grip 425 with chains, just fucking repping out close grip bench. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Utterly
just
mind-blowing.
Like, yeah, mind-blowing. Like you see Sean's deadlifting like 700 pounds, and like it's super inspirational to kind of see that, but at the same time like a little bit daunting, where you're just like, fuck, I'm in the jungle now. But like when you go to like any sort of, I mean not now, but any sort of like Globo gym, like it's rare to see someone pull 4 plates.
Yeah, it is.
It's rare to see some people squat 3 plates. It's most people are like benching like 2 plates just because, like, you know, everyday's chest day type thing. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like that's still pretty fucking strong.
I'm just stoked to like try to progress on my own terms. I know I'm never gonna be deadlifting 700 pounds, but yeah, like I like to just try to stay kind of lean, but focus on like the more the powerlifting, for lack of a better term, power building, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever step on stage or anything. I'm not interested. I'm more interested in the performance side while not being that great at performing.
I feel you. No. I mean, that's my biggest thing that kind of started this all was just like, I just want to get strong.
Yeah.
I just want to be strong. Like, I'm not a fan of him, but that like Mark Bell guy, like strength is never a weakness.
Yep. Yeah.
I wish he didn't say it, but yes, like it's never going to be a detriment. Granted, like getting
back in the day, and he just really went off the wagon.
Dude, yeah.
Like
he
got really
super
bad.
hard. He's kind of a dick too. So if
like
you ever have the chance to meet him,
I didn't buy the slingshot for like, not even kidding, 4 years, even though I wanted it for so long because I didn't want to support him.
Oh yeah, my old coach didn't like. He's not a fan of him either. And I was like, I want to get one of these slingshots. And he was just like, I was like, but I don't want to buy it from Mark Bell. That guy fucking sucks. And he was just like, fucking thank you. Yeah. But yeah, he's a fucking prick. So like, that's
so funny. I was just talking to somebody about this like last week too, about how much we dislike the guy. He just seems like.
And it's fine. Like, I mean, he's doing his own thing and like whatever. But yeah, just a little bit too loony for me.
Yeah.
And, like closed mind, like someone that seems like they're open minded but is extremely closed minded. Yeah, it's funny. Like especially when he starts bringing on people that are like very scientifically, based as far as they're doing. Like Dr. Mike was on there once, and I was just like, this is hilarious because you could tell that he wanted him to like support keto, and Dr. Mike's there's no scientific backing to it.
Yeah.
Being like, if you're trying to get fucking huge and super fucking strong, it doesn't help. If you're like a washed up powerlifter who wants to get really lean, awesome. But like, don't like spew that type of shit like to the masses and expect everyone to be like, increasing their performance.
Yeah.
But
I really like those Renaissance periodization guys just because they seem like they really do care first and foremost about the actual evidence and not personal biases, which is awesome.
Yeah, totally. Like even when like that Game Changer movie came out, they did like a response to it. And it was like, I watched it and I was like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of memes about this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, not really like the most evidence-based thing. But it's, again, like if you're getting all of your information from a documentary on Netflix, like you should probably reassess like the knowledge that you're taking in. It shouldn't all be from that one
like
source.
A entry point, but then like do your own research kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It might spark interest, but like don't let it stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's fucking awesome though, man. I think it's just good to like, I don't know, continue to train your body. Like I'm not sure about what your background is as far as family, but like everyone on my side of the family has like health issues, either related to like sedentary lifestyle or just poor eating habits and things like that. And like in my mind, I was like, I don't ever want to deal with that. Yeah. So I think like just building mass now and building like strong, healthy bones and muscles. As long as you're doing it healthy and like smart, like it's going to carry over into your older years. The people that stop moving fucking die. So like, just having that, like getting that ingrained into your like everyday life, I think is just crucial for everyone, regardless of what they eat. So, yeah, man. So,
those are some great closing words, dude. That was great.
Fuck yeah, man. Thank you again for reaching out.
Yeah, dude, definitely. Where can people find you on social media if they want to?
So if you want to follow my personal Instagram, it's really boring. It's just me lifting and like maybe pictures of my dogs and cat and my wife. It's not super PC, so just for anyone that's home. But it's Mateo Way, W-A-Y. And then I also have a business page for all of my lapidary work, my jewelry and stuff like that. It's at Grit, Grit. Lapidary, Lapidary. I'm not on Facebook or any of that other shit. Just IG. So.
Sweet.
Cool, man.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to chat today, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right, cool. Yeah, talk to you later.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Aethix Approach podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, it would mean a ton if you gave the podcast a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, RadioPublic, PocketCasts, Stitcher, PlayerFM, PineCast, or any other service you're listening to, and subscribe to the Aethix Fitness YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page. Feel free to check out the articles, training and nutrition programs, and merch on aethixfitness.com. And if you like what I'm making, dropping a like, commenting, and sharing would really, really help me out. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.